Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Organic Podcast. I'm your host, Reagan, and I'm really excited to share today's episode with you guys. I had the privilege of hosting Jodi Scott, the co-founder and CEO of Green Goo, which is a company that creates plant-based first aid, skincare, and natural healing products. If you are someone like me who appreciates non-toxic living, wants to be living my happiest, healthiest life, and is also slightly overwhelmed by the state of the world and the fact that it seems like everything is toxic, this episode is for you. Not only do Jodi and I deep dive the origins of Green Goo being a family-operated, women-owned company starting from literally just drying herbs in their kitchen, selling their products at farmers markets, to being sold on the nationwide scale at retail stores and even being used in military applications. Beyond the incredible journey that is Green Goo and their business and what it really takes to own a family-founded business, we explore the deeper layers of modern-day wellness when it comes to living a life that is grounded in realistic approaches centered around reducing your toxic load, regulating your nervous system, and embracing balance instead of perfection, as well as the importance of community and learning how to nourish that. I know that I am not alone when I say that, when I started to get into understanding non-toxic living and literally just how much was toxic in our world, I was so overwhelmed. I was like, oh my God, why is literally every single thing that I pick up, that I look at, that I want to eat toxic? It's horrible. And I know that sounds like a pessimistic attitude to have, but I really do deeply understand how overwhelming it can be and how hopeless you can feel almost when it's like, where even are the good alternatives to the products that I can use or the foods that I can eat? And today's episode is a perfect conversation to tackle this exact issue when it comes to living life in balance and doing what you can, truly just living a life grounded in overall holistic health and wellness without feeling like it has to be hard or completely unrealistic. And part of that really is making non-toxic swaps where you can. This is where I started my non-toxic journey. I really began with the hygiene products that I've used and personal care products. But one area of my life that honestly I never even really thought about was first aid healing and medicine. And Jodi and I discussed this. First aid is something that I think a lot of us assume there's only really one option for it. You go to a pharmacy, you buy Neosporin, or you know what I mean? We don't really check our medicine cabinets and the products that we use on our skin when it comes to wounds or rashes. We kind of just write them off because it's oh, that's just medicine. That's our only option of what we have to use. Yeah, if it's toxic or if it perchance is flammable, as you'll hear us talk about in the episode, whatever, because that's just our only option. But it is a great area to make non-toxic swaps because of how vulnerable our skin is, how much it impacts us, and how it is an opportunity to actually take care of yourself and nourish yourself in a way that is most supportive for your system, especially when it comes to first aid, skincare, and healing products. Jodi shares with us her SHAMAN acronym that her family uses as an easy reminder for a completely free way to lean into healthier practices in the day-to-day life. And as I said, we just explore a realistic, grounded approach to how to live a healthy, happy life in the modern day world. And so much of this comes down to small decisions, small swaps, small moments of presence, and controlling what you can and releasing everything else that you can't. We also discussed what it's really like to be working with your family 24/7 and living with them, and steps that they took to be proactive about maintaining their relationships with each other and a strong family foundation, while also being able to build a successful business together and nourish their community and employees as they do it. I think today's conversation is going to be a beautiful one for you guys to listen to. I hope you guys get as much out of it as I did. Before I forget to warn you, this is so embarrassing. I forgot to connect my podcast microphone as the Zoom input. So I had it in front of me. I had it plugged into my Mac and fully just did not connect it. Whatever. So the sound quality is quite rough on my end. So I apologize for that in advance. But without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to the Organic Podcast. I'm your host, Reagan, mechanical engineer, lifelong athlete, and recovered overachiever, here to empower you to pursue your highest potential and live freely as your happiest, most organic self. Every week, we'll dive into topics ranging from personal growth, mindset hacks, psychology, and a blend of science and spirituality to give you all the tools you need to stop living on autopilot and start creating a life of freedom, meaning, and fulfillment as your most organic self. If you're ready to become the best version of yourself, then let's plant those seeds and grow. Jodi Scott, welcome to the Organic Podcast. I'm genuinely so happy to have you here, and I'm so inspired and admirable of your brand's journey, of your family, your current circumstances, just the homestead life, the herbalism, everything about your brand I absolutely love. And I'm really happy to have you on to have a honest, grounded conversation just about non-toxic living, starting a brand as a family, just everything that has to do with your brand. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. It is a treat to be here with you.
So let me just say, your the journey of your company starting out is well, I know it's a long stretch in natural evolution, but I was so fascinated to see just like how everything started out with your sister and herbalism and those kind of roots, and just very much so starting from the classic like family kitchen, family helping out, and building to a brand that's working with like huge retail stores, huge names and things like that. How was it back in the starting days, in the very, very beginning? Like, how did this kind of come about? Like, what was the original inspiration for even getting into the kind of herbalism or just the very, very, very beginning of Green Goo?
Oh my goodness, you're right. It has been such a journey. So, my sister's an herbalist and a midwife, and then I was pre-med and got my master's in health psychology. And the two of us were just very passionate about clean living. Like we bought organic food. We were always reading the back of labels. And what we thought was so interesting is that like here we had like good food around us all the time. But when you opened up our first aid cabinet, it was like all these chemicals, one-time use products. And we just questioned why we did that. And in that reflection, we were like, well, we truly believe that these chemical products are the only things that can get the job done. That's what we've been told. So therefore, this is when we have to have those chemicals. And then we started looking and visiting with other people, and we found out we weren't alone. The natural consumer was willing to abandon their natural ethos because they were told Neosporin, hydrocortisone, calamine, they were the only solutions in first aid. And then what was even more interesting is we identified that chronic skin conditions are at an all-time high. And the conventional consumer was also frustrated with first aid products because they were like, they don't work. You know, you can only use them for 7 to 10 days. And if symptoms persist, you need to go see your physician. And so at that moment, we really were inspired to go, what if we can make a plant-based first aid line that is better than anything else on the market, chemical, non-chemical, so efficacy first, and then, oh, by the way, super clean, sustainable. And so Green Goo was born. And we started making, like, looking at the first aid set and seeing, like, what is it that customers are looking for? They're looking for pain relief. They're looking for anti-itch. They're looking for wound care. Um, and they're looking for like lotion and hydration and afterburn and scar. And so we started formulating.
That really is such a market that honestly I haven't even thought of before. And I am definitely someone who appreciates the non-toxic. Like, obviously, I have another episode about it. Like, the non-toxic living has been a part of my life for years, and I feel like it's a journey where it's hard to just switch overnight. And I feel like the more you start learning about these things, when you start reading ingredient labels, especially with usually food, you start going down this rabbit hole kind of information that like you're like, maybe I wish I didn't know this because I feel like ignorance is bliss sometimes. And it's really interesting that you guys are involved in the plant-based healing because that is such a market where I would not naturally think of things. It's one of those things, like you said, where you think you just have to use these chemical products. You just have to use these things because what else is out there? Like that's just what everyone uses for the healing, for the skin issues. So you guys really are in like a perfect market. And that is like such a good example of providing something that just didn't exist yet. And it's so admirable to actually like be the ones to actually create that and start very much from scratch, like you said, and like like your story details of just making herbs in your kitchen and everything. I mean, I can imagine that starting out, it was probably a bit hectic, but also just like such a wholesome kind of experience too.
You'll
But
so
yeah,
appreciate this. Yes. So, in that origin story, so we're growing the herbs in our backyard. We've got bees. We're harvesting the herbs. We're drying them on old kitchen door racks. So, like, people are walking past our house and they see like all of these screen doors with all these herbs drying, and they're going, "What are they doing over there?" And our kitchen turned into a complete production facility. So much so that we had to take our camping equipment and build an outdoor kitchen so that we could cook our food outside because our kitchen was so busy. And then we're selling it at the farmer's market. And all of these lovely people are sharing with us their stories. Their son, who had eczema, is finally not embarrassed to go to school because it's the first time he's getting relief. People who had had like multiple surgeries or injuries, and they're using our anti-inflammatory product, and they're like, wow, I can actually like go enjoy the outdoor activities that I love so much. And then it was really fun because we're in Idaho at the time, and it's very much the outdoor area. And people are like lifting up their shirts, showing us their gashes from their outdoor adventures. And like, hey, I used to put dirt in my cut when I was, out mountain biking, and now I put the green goo in. And so it was just really beautiful too to have that time with the customers as we were product developing and then growing the herbs and then having that family time together too. It was just so sweet.
yeah, that sounds like such a special experience. Makes me laugh thinking about the people because my boyfriend and I have been to the Tetons 2 years in a row. We are like obsessed with the Pacific Northwest kind of area, like Wyoming, Idaho. When I saw you guys, lived there, worked there for a little bit, I was like, oh my God, living my dream life, literally, like just with the family on, I don't know. Idaho was so nice. So I can just imagine, someone falling off a hike from the Tetons being like, hey, your product helped me out so much. But that really is so beautiful to hear the actual experiences of the people that you are genuinely impacting. And I feel like that's something that a lot of brands don't necessarily have as much of a sort of I don't know, grassroots kind of beginning. I don't want to say grassroots as if your beginning is not anymore or like small or anything like that, but just that kind of interaction with people one on one. I feel like it's something that's so special and just creates such a strong foundation for your brand, for you guys and the family working on this when you actually see like the legitimate impacts people have. And it's so rewarding to genuinely change someone's life. And I feel like your products just do that. And it is so beautiful that you guys have expanded so much. How did you guys kind of go from the smaller to kind of just on the pipeline of becoming a lot bigger, blowing up, kind of reaching out, meeting with different companies, getting opportunities like that? Like, what was that journey kind of like?
It was bananas. So it was our customers who first started reaching out to us asking if they could reorder from a website. And we didn't even have a website. And we're like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. So then we put up the website. And then retailers started reaching out to us, independents like the Boise Co-op and natural grocers, and they asked if they could carry Green Goo. And they go, do you have UPCs? Well, we didn't even know what that was. So we had a lot of learning on the fly. And I'll never forget. So we grew up in the military and we felt really passionate about bringing these plant-based solutions to our servicemen and women. And a lot of that is because growing up with the military, we recognized that any innovation never made it to the bases. Like they weren't the early adopters. It came later. So when my sister and I wanted to go to health food stores, we always had to drive an hour out of town to go find our health food stores. And my dad was taking Green Goo with him on deployment. So we already had a lot of military folks that really liked Green Goo. And what's great about it is we have a portable first aid product and it's great for cuts and scrapes, but then bug bites and bee stings and chafing and sunburning, ingrown toenails. And it's this little tiny tin and you can pop it in your uniform when you're out in deployments. And so those little things that are just like frustrating and uncomfortable, you've got this solution. And so we started asking around on how we could carry our products at the Army Air Force Exchange. And somehow we got a meeting. And I looked at my mom and sister. I was like, okay, so what are you going to wear? What are we going to present? And my mom's like, I'm the graphic designer. I do not go to those meetings. And then my sister's like, I'm the herbalist. I do not go to those meetings. And I'm like, y'all, I did not just draw the short straw. I don't know what I'm doing either. And so I did end up going to the meeting by myself, which was fine. But it's so funny. I'm in the waiting room and this other person was there and she was selling diapers, I think. And uh she goes, this is the second largest retailer in the world. And I was like, I did not need to know that. I was so scared.
The
And it was really,
anxiety.
no, I had no idea. And it was really sweet. We got in and they're asking me, we need a line sheet. Do you have EDI? Do you have SPS? We need these specs. And I walked out and I called my mom and I was like, okay, we got in. I have no idea what we agreed to, but we got in. And that was very much the entrepreneurial journey. None of us, we were all in the medical field. My mom's a self-taught computer programmer, website developer. We didn't know how to build a business. And so this was very much business 101, and it happened really fast. All of a sudden, in less than 5 years, we were in over 150,000 points of distribution and very much in retail because if you had poison ivy or you had a cut or a scrape, you went to your local pharmacy. There wasn't really Amazon and same day shipping the way we have it today. And so it was a lot of travel and a lot of learning as you go.
Yeah, I can imagine. The business 101 and learning on the fly. This is the thing. I feel like it's really special about you guys that like speaks to the quality of your product that you kind of just got in with these opportunities, obviously through the hard work, but like I don't know, it's crazy how fast things can turn around, how quickly things can change. And I can I can imagine being the only person meeting with like such a big company, growing all this stuff, hearing all these acronyms, being like, I don't know what the heck any of that means. Like I'd probably be doing the exact same thing, but it just really speaks to
And
the integrity, yeah.
yes, and to add to that, thank you for calling that out. Something that was really special during this time too was we were growing so fast, and a lot of people wanted us to compromise the integrity of the formulas because you're growing and manufacturers want to cut corners and use different kinds of synthetic concentrates or tinctures that are already available. And what's really different about Green Goo is that we protect the integrity of the plant through the extraction process. And we still, to this day, do what we did when we were growing these on our own farm, is that we bring the fresh plants to the manufacturing facility, take them through the extraction process, yield high amounts of the medicinal properties, and those unique custom oils go into Green Goo formulas. And that's why it works. And we were like, we do not want to compromise the integrity of these formulas because that compromises the outcome. And so it was really beautiful that everybody was so committed and so aligned to protecting and coveting those formulas so that we could continue to give people the results that they were looking for.
And that's huge. That's another topic I wanted to talk about with you is just I feel like in the world of non-toxic, I mean, I know this stretches from food to like every single product out there. I mean, I feel like I could find a non-toxic couch. I could find a non-toxic like I don't even know. There's non-toxic everything these days. But in the non-toxic world, I feel like it can be overwhelming as a consumer to worry about brands that are like greenwashed or doing exactly what you talk about of, you get to these bigger corporations or bigger manufacturing centers and you want to cut corners because all they care about is money. And then I feel like it's a really easy trap for a lot of businesses to fall into that is just such an unfortunate thing. And the fact that you guys have been so strong about like maintaining the integrity of the brand is something that is like so coveted. And I feel like it is somewhat rare. And which is why it is so admirable. And exactly like you said, it's why your products work. It's why they make such a big difference. And it's why like you guys can be so successful because you actually maintain that brand quality. Like, I don't know about you. It is so overwhelming sometimes, especially like starting out the non-toxic journey. So overwhelming to just be in stores looking everywhere, being like, every single thing I'm using in my entire life just seems to have some sort of toxin in it. Like, what can I even do? You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, it's so true. And it's interesting because when we started, I'll never forget going to a national pharmacy buyer and being like, I have a plant-based Neosporin. And he just about fell out of his seat. He's like, what does even plant-based mean? And you can't put that in the same sentence as Neosporin. That's just not even a possibility. And so we were really forging the path and educating and informing people what plant-based means. And now, of course, today, plant-based is this really versatile term, But to your point, there's a lot of greenwashing. There's a lot of plant-based washing in terms of are we really what are we really getting? And then what other sneaky ingredients are in there? And then it's crazy to me that even to this day, like you said, you can get a non-toxic couch, but we still have toxic first aid that is full of forever chemicals and phthalates and parabens and petroleum. I mean, phthalates are the number one produced chemical in the world, and the US produces over 1 billion pounds of it per year. And these are endocrine disruptors. And skin conditions, chronic skin conditions are at an all-time high. And our nervous systems are like in overload. And they're not just in overload from the ingredients that we're being exposed to, but it's just in a constant state of alert because of everything that's around us. And so I'm always encouraging people because, yes, it's really overwhelming to think about all the things that we should do. And we can't do all of them. So it's just taking small steps of saying, today I'm going to avoid this. Tomorrow I may not, but tomorrow's a new day and I'll work on tomorrow and I'll avoid these things when I can. And I do find that sometimes avoiding things is more beneficial on our health than trying to stack new habits and add new things. Because
Oh my
avoiding
God,
can
yeah.
be avoiding a situation, avoiding an ingredient, avoiding just something that doesn't serve you, and that alone can be like really recharging.
Yeah, I love so much of what you said because you are speaking my language. These are things that I feel like maybe it's just me and maybe it's just my worrying about like, people thinking I have a tin hat on or whatever, but it is real. It is so real, the impact of like so much inflammation on our systems. It is just things that are common but not normal. I feel like that is a big problem for a lot of people's health and a lot of the skin issues. There's so much of the toxins that just casually go into so many products being used by so many people, especially skin. It's like your biggest organ. It's something that just absorbs everything you put on it. And I feel like people don't realize that enough and kind of take care of it. And it's such a big cause for why so many people feel inflamed, stressed out, overwhelmed. Like your body can only take so much. And speaking to the point of living balanced and being reasonable about it, this is something I really had to take some time to learn, like not being too obsessive and kind of just taking things one day at a time, like you said. More people should know about this. It's ideal for a lot of people to be living non-toxic, but when you start learning about it and start implementing it, if you try to implement every single thing in your life to be non-toxic, you are going to stress yourself out so much, which inherently is then going to be worse for your health. So it's like you have to walk this very tight line of balancing everything and being realistic, taking it a day at a time. But no matter what, if you are even aware of half of this stuff and you're trying to make changes in your life, you are going to be so much further ahead and so much healthier than if you just didn't put any time or effort in at all. So I love everything that you said with that.
Fun fact for you. So, our skin and our nervous system come from the same embryonic tissue. And so, when you start thinking about your skin is the largest organ and then also is a major communicator signaler, like call it the Wi-Fi of our body that triggers the immune system, it triggers the nervous system, it triggers your mindset. And so when you start thinking about what you avoid on your skin, and how that can have a lasting impact on suddenly like your cortisol goes down, your inflammation goes down. And when that happens, you have more clarity, you have more peace. And so I love looking at the skin to add to that as like a nutritive opportunity. So one of my favorite things to do with Green Goo is like on a Sunday, just literally lather up. Maybe it's the pain relief, maybe it's the repair, and butter up from head to toe. Put on my bathrobe and like have an intentional moment. Read, sit outside, listen to the birds, have a conversation with someone. Like really have an intentional 30 minutes while you let your skin just drink up all those nutrients. And then you get ready for the day, or maybe it's the end of the day and you go to bed, you just feel different. So there's something to be said of like food for your skin and really nourishing it and giving it just a little bit more credit for all the hard work it does for our bodies.
That experience that you just described, like the bathrobe, all the products on, like your skin just like eating up all the goodness. the peace of like the country and the mountain vibes. Dream life to just be hearing the birds, just like putting good stuff on your skin. It's just incredible. I love it so much.
Well, I have a little acronym that I'll share with you and the listeners that we use at home. That what I love about it is it's equitable, meaning it doesn't cost you money. Like this is just you make the choice. So the acronym is SHAMAN. And so S is sleep, making sure you're adding to the sleep bank because you can deplete it, but after a little while, it really starts to have an impact on your body. So when you think about just rest in that way, it's very recharging. H is hydration. And so thinking about like we are made from water. And so we want to make sure we're constantly nurturing and cultivating that. So whether it's, having a giant glass of water or avoiding things that are depleting water from your body and also inviting foods that have water in them. There's plenty of vegetables and fruit that are also going to add to that hydration. And then there's antioxidants. So if you're thinking about what you're going to choose when you open up the fridge, you're like, let's make sure I throw some antioxidants in that mix. Like yesterday, it was really cute because my husband got these really awesome, like amazing chips that are so fun. And I was like, okay, I'm going to eat some grapes and some carrots and then have like some of the chips to go with it. But at least I was thinking about how to sprinkle in something that's good for me. And then
Mhm.
M is for mindfulness. And people always think if you don't meditate for 2 hours, you don't get the benefits of mindfulness. And actually, it only takes 30 seconds to 2 minutes. Go listen to the birds, feel your feet on the ground, take a couple deep breaths, watch the sunrise, watch the sunset. Be really intentional to have a couple of those minutes for yourself throughout the day. And the data supports how it drops your cortisol, it reduces inflammation, and has such a positive impact on your well being. And then the next A is avoid. And that's very much, avoiding those ingredients we talked about, maybe avoiding those situations to just preserve your energy. You only have so much time in the day. Like give yourself that moment to like really own that and have boundaries. And then N is nature. And nature just has a way of fixing everything. And this has been really good for my daughter, where she'll have a moment where she's like, I think I'm going to scroll. And then she'll remember the shaman acronym. And she goes, maybe I will just go outside for 10 minutes and instead do that. And when you do those little things, it doesn't cost you money, it's just a choice. And you find so much more peace in your life. It's pretty cool.
I love that acronym. I truly do feel like if everyone in this country, in this world, like lived by that kind of acronym and focuses for their health and well-being, we would be so much better off. Like those easy things, like things that are free, like you said, I feel like it's a perfect example of making small, realistic changes and just doing what you can. Just simple shifts, simple awareness like that. It makes such a big difference. And like you said with meditation, I've noticed that a lot where I have a very, very active mind. So sometimes I find it hard to like really settle in and just like be present with myself. But meditating, being present, just enjoying nature, it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't really take more than a couple minutes sometimes, like you said, or 30 seconds just to be present and intentional and just allow yourself to exist. Like we are so constantly in the mode of doing things and I don't think we realize how much it actually depletes our health, our energy supply. Like we got to recharge at some point, you know? So I love that acronym. I'm gonna write that on like my kitchen whiteboard or something. Like seriously, it's so good. I
It's
love it.
it's been really helpful for me too. Like they always joke around that I was a bee in a past life. They like to tease because I'm always doing and I'm learning about being more, to your point of just like being. And those little subtle shifts for me have just had such a positive impact and they compound. They add. It's just like adding to the bank. They compound interest in terms of your well-being. It's pretty great.
They really do. Yeah, I've had plenty of years of my life where I have been very much so constantly the doer, and it's only been in the recent couple of years that I've really appreciated the presence, the calming down, and I mean, even looping it back to like the brand and your products and everything, it's all aspects of health. Like we have to target a lot of different phases of our health in order to actually experience like life to the fullest and full body health and everything these small things, the small changes of mindfulness, of stress reduction, of just presence, they all add up. And when you loop in back to like swapping out for non-toxic alternatives, things like that, everything compounds, like you said. And it really makes such a big difference over time, even though it seems like small, tiny little shifts.
And then it becomes interesting what I've noticed, and my daughter and I talked about this. It almost like reframes, generally speaking, suddenly you feel satiated. Like you just don't need as much. You don't feel like you're being inundated by an advertisement where you're like, oh, I need to buy this, or I need to eat this, or I need to order that Grubhub because I'm just having this moment, I need to order it now. And my daughter and I were like, we're just more at peace. And we feel like we can discern what serves us better than than always feeling this alert of fight or flight that very much our environment seems to encourage.
Yeah, the constant stimulation, constant input. These are other topics I'm pretty passionate about because I feel like I see and understand how much it really impacts our society as a whole to constantly be maintaining the sense, like false sense of urgency, to always be doing something, to always have your attention pulled in 10 different directions. But to your point, when you actually start to settle down and relax and come back into just your own space and you kind of unplug from all the unnecessary stimulation outside of you, you're so much more clear-headed. You're not freaking out about, like you said, buying things or worrying about stuff as much. You're just actually existing way more as yourself. And this is kind of what I built my whole brand around, like talking about being your most organic self, just your most authentic self, like being the most natural, happiest, like aligned version of yourself. And I feel like that has a lot of components, but just that sense of health and well-being and presence just all contributes to it, and it's huge.
Thank you. And thank you for putting that message out there because it's just going to empower so many. And my guess is that the inversion is true for most people, which is they're compounding that negative energy. They're compounding that overstimulation. And so when you know that the opposite can be true for yourself and it actually is equitable and it feels better, it's a great way to live.
It's like a positive upward spiral rather than the negative spiral. And I think from my perspective and my personal experience and struggles in the past, when you're on that kind of negative or just overwhelming spiral, I feel like it can feel really easy to think you're just stuck there and that it's hard to get to the other direction. But it's really not that hard to pivot. It just takes, the decisions and the very small moments that just compound and keep you accelerating. And then once you have enough forward momentum in the positive direction, you're just there, you're just gone. Not to say we can't fluctuate, we're all human, but
Yes. Well, we have a saying in our house, like, don't leave your hand on the hot stove for too long. Let yourself be human, feel human, all of those emotions. And those emotions can give you good feedback and give you insight on what to do. You just don't want to stay in that place too long where it depletes you. And I think it can be really overwhelming when you are in that downward spiral to think like, oh, I can't live like that. Like I hear you, but like there's no way that I can do that. And what I found is when you take those small bites of being present, just those simple moments of like putting your feet on the ground and back to those presence exercises. So every time that negative feedback loop comes back in and you're in that down spiral, um, just go get present. Let those thoughts go away and put your feet on the ground, listen to the birds, watch the horizon, and you just do that and just keep compounding that. Eventually, you find yourself on the other side, and then you can keep growing into that direction. So, I invite anyone who's feeling that way to really just take those small bites and not feel so overwhelmed about what it might look like a year from now getting over to that other spot. Like you'll get there.
I love that phrase, the way you put that, the small bites of presence, because that's really what it is. It's just the small moments. It doesn't have to be this whole huge commitment. It can literally be like 30 seconds in your car after the workday, or just these small moments. That is huge. The small bites really make up the bigger picture. And I feel like it's easy to forget that. It's easy to get swept up in the loop of everything and the craziness of the world, but that really is the foundation of what actually creates the change and sustains a lifestyle that is way more healthy and fulfilling. I
Those
love
small
it.
bites are like little gifts, little gifts.
Exactly. Little gifts that you give to yourself. I wanted to ask you about sort of the family dynamics that you have, especially with building such a powerful brand, it's seemingly keeping like a really, really strong family foundation through it. I think that's something that a lot of people don't experience enough of, this sense of like really deep familial connection. I think it's something that like our society honestly really needs and misses. And I feel like you guys have a really strong representation of that. So I'm just curious how that looks for you and how that journey has been being so close with your family still.
Well, it's definitely one of my greatest gifts and greatest joys. And it's also been one of my greatest investments, meaning, when we first started, because we cared so much about each other, we wanted to be proactive. And what I had observed is a lot of family businesses, they wait until they have a problem and then they react. And then it's kind of like the damage is already done and you're just constantly in this state of reaction. And so we were really intentional around not compromising the relationship and wanted the tools. So we started reaching out to other families who had had family businesses, family offices, therapists, and saying, what are some good best practices and good hygiene that we can institute now? And that was really a gift because we started out on the right foot. And one of them was, figure out each other's zone of genius and really respect the role that each one of these, the players play and each family member and trust when they are in their lane and you respect that and you don't go in their lane because you wouldn't do that to another employee either. So you don't go pop over there and be like, "Hey, I'm questioning whether you're doing this." You respect that process. And then that way there's just this really foundational trust. And then with that trust comes confidence, comes uh, the ability to be vulnerable, to be creative. And that was really helpful because there were plenty of times where I could have, and I felt those moments where I'm like, I could knock on that. And we didn't because we had instituted that standard. And then we had places and times in which we could debrief outside of that setting to make sure that other employees never felt that discomfort as well. And it's very much, you were talking about kind of the positive path and the downward path. And I was thinking to myself as you were talking, like how valuable it is when you create that ecosystem because it also creates a halo effect. You attract other people who want to create a positive environment. Same way as if you allow yourself to go into a toxic environment, you invite toxic people in that space. And so that was also important because I had heard a lot of family businesses were just toxic environments. And so we really wanted our team members to feel that same level of confidence and trust when they were coming in and they saw that we were honoring that standard across the board. And so it really enriched our relationship. And people would laugh because they go, "How is it that you can work together all day long and then, go work in the garden or have a happy hour or whatever? Like, how do you even have that capacity?" And I'm like, well, one, everybody's in their own lane. So we don't really spend as much time as people think with each other all day long. But then also, we just have so much love and admiration for each other. We just want to spend more time with each other. And it is such a gift. And when things got really hard, I never realized how much I was going to need to lean on that and how grateful I was that we created a solid foundation.
That really is such an incredible, like such a valuable asset to have. Like you said, very much so a gift, but also largely in part to the work that you guys actively put in to making sure that you were setting yourselves up for success. I mean, I can imagine a family business. You probably have heard of other people in talking to other family businesses and stuff. Like I can imagine the issues that might arise or just things that could go astray if you don't actively think about how to be proactive in solving those issues before they even happen. And yeah, the positive upward spiral of just putting that intentional positive energy into your family and your relationships and the business and everything, and even employees outside of your family, I can completely see how that just compounds even more and just creates the kind of environment that only attracts the people who are willing to support and nourish that kind of environment and just add more positivity to it. And I'm sure not everything has been rainbows and butterflies and there's been hardships, but when you have those hard times, like you said, being able to lean on your family, your employees, your coworkers, I feel like that makes such a huge difference and really speaks to a strong foundation of your brand that I feel like bigger corporations, bigger companies, they can't really speak to that as much. So yeah,
And
I commend that. I'm so admirable.
Thank you. And times do get tough. Like there is no business that's just like some linear trajectory that everything, to your point, is rainbows and butterflies. That will not happen. It is not possible. And so investing in those relationships and constantly investing in them through that journey and cultivating, and it is so critical so that when you do hit those moments, you are able to respond instead of react, and have that strong foundation that is critical. And I'm grateful that we did that, because I mean, oh, it would just break my heart to think of anything otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, it's a delicate situation, right? Working with the family business, there's a lot at stake. There's a lot of different parts. I love what you said about staying in your lanes, though, in your zone of genius, because respecting that, I feel like built the kind of trust to allow you guys to have this strong foundation. And it's so true. Everyone has things that they are better at than others, things that come more naturally to them. And when you actually lean on that and acknowledge that, utilize those strengths, that's when you have like the best kind of community aspect, family aspect, like teamwork kind of situation, which I feel like a lot of, I don't know, I feel like our society in general, not to be existential, I feel like I say things like this a lot, but our society in general, I feel is very, very independent now, very disconnected. Like a lot of people are just used to being on their own, not seeing the family super often, maybe live far apart from them, not even being social with strangers. Everyone just seems to be kind of huddled in their own little holes and like, I don't know, just so isolated. So when you see a family, nonetheless, a family that's created such a brand like this, it really is something that is so special. And I feel like it's such a good example of how powerful we can be if we actually decide to like really nurture the bonds between us, both as families and just as people existing, as human
Exactly.
beings.
Exactly. Community is so important. It is so important, family or not family. And truly, humans are just going to trigger humans regardless. Now, there's something to be said, obviously, with family, because you know each other so well. You know how to trigger each other. And that's why it was so important to respect that zone of genius. But it also really helped us set up good hygiene for our team members as well. And it kind of held us accountable and a little bit more aware, where perhaps in a different environment, we might not have been so mindful of that. And what I really appreciate from that is that as a result, we were able to build a really nice community in terms of our team as well, just like you said. And community is just so important. And you're right, we're all so siloed, and we're siloed physically, and then how that's impacting our own mindset and our own happiness just continues to create those pillars. So thank you for really encouraging community.
It's so important. It's another pillar of health that I feel is like really important and something that kind of just gets put to the wayside. I feel like COVID really, really did throw a wrench in people's ability to kind of embrace like the more outwardly social kind of thing. And I think we're still kind of experiencing the reverberations from that, unfortunately. But the value of community is definitely something that I look to have as something very strong when I do have a family. Obviously, not anytime soon. I'm 23, but looking forward to that and just bringing that even into friendships or your neighbors. We build strong communities like that by actually caring about the people who are next to us, by investing in the people around us. Something that, again, another part of just the lack of community that I feel exists. When you have it though, like I can just tell how much of a difference it makes and just how nourishing it is. Like we humans were never meant to live this isolated, this alone, this overstimulated. It's crazy. So bringing it back to those family values, yeah.
And you are so right, because the data is there in terms of community has a positive impact on your wellness and on your aging, and I mean all the things, it your inflammation. And so by leaning into that and investing into your community, and I think entrepreneurs, students, family members, when you're building a family or you're running a family, you always think like, oh, I just don't have time for that. I don't have time to go to that event, or I'm not going to put myself out there. I'm just so overwhelmed. And I really encourage people to invest in your community. Find people that feel like-minded to you, that complement you, help you bring out the best version of yourself. And even on those hard days, push yourself into going to those events so that you can cultivate that. I mean, they have a saying like, build the well before you are thirsty. And again, the data supports it is a part of your wellness journey having it doesn't have to be a lot of people. It's not the number that matters, it's just the quality of those engagements.
That's so true. It's so true. You don't need to have a million friends or a family of 12 to feel the benefit of connecting with other human beings. And exactly like you said, I have been there before, feeling the friction of like, oh, should I go to this? Should I not? I don't really feel like going to, you know, this work event or insert whatever community thing. I feel like it's always like a moment where you're just like, I really, really don't feel like going right now. But every single time that I go and I talk to people and I converse and I connect and everything, it gives you so much back. Like the return on investment of your time and your energy is huge. But we forget about that every time we sit on our couch at 5:30 and are like, I don't feel like going anywhere else today. We forget the return on investment that we actually have from spending time with others, family or just friends, coworkers, whatever it may be. So I love that.
No.
I feel like we're so on the same page about so many things.
Oh, it's like, why wait? Why wait? But I think it's you're exactly right though, is everything's tugging at us. And sometimes in that moment, we can't quite grasp it. And I think that kind of puts a bow on everything that we've talked about too, just in terms of the value of getting present, because when you get present, you can really get in touch with those needs. All of a sudden, when you're present, you'll be like, you know what? Maybe I can go tonight because I'm going to be present when I'm there. I'm not going to be thinking about the thousand things that I need to do. And maybe I'll only go for half the evening because then I can go enjoy my time with them and also give myself some time. And so that state of presence is just so much more expansive than being in that like rushed mode where it becomes really narrow.
I feel like the solution to so many things is just like presence, community, and like using real products and putting real food into your body. Like just going down to the very basics of the things that nourish us and take care of us. Yeah, I feel like we're witnessing a kind of, I don't know, boomerang effect almost with the world at large right now. It feels like a lot of people are kind of awakening to the fact that like so much of our world is so processed. There's a lot of toxins. There's just everything we've already talked about, just like the overstimulation, the lack of connection to self. Just I feel like everyone's starting to realize that and kind of get sick of it and kind of go back in the other direction, which is a good thing. It's a really good thing, but can feel
Well, and the
overwhelming
cool
for sure.
It can. And the cool part about it is like when you start that journey for yourself, obviously you get to feel the benefits, but it's also voting because, for example, when you buy a product like Green Goo instead of Neosporin and more people do that, all of a sudden those chemical products, they don't have the power that they did before. They don't have the demand. And the same thing around like whether you're spending more time on your phone and scrolling versus like going out in nature and all of a sudden like they don't have the power anymore. And so there's real value in terms of shifting where our world will go just by making personal decisions that better suit us.
Yeah, it's a grassroots movement. This is what I feel like. It really is starting to be like a grassroots level kind of small decisions, small shifts, the bites of presence, everything. It starts on such a small scale, but when you think about actually changing the world or shifting the tide of non-toxic products or toxic products and kind of not going against big corporations because I don't really want to mess with the monster that is, but just naturally competing in the same market with big corporations, the non-toxic brands are only going to win. They'll support the most amount of people when we actually invest in them and make the small decision to buy products like Green Goo and like invest in these companies that have integrity and quality roots and actually care about what is going on your skin and in your body. And those small changes, those small decisions are what's actually going to shift the tides and kind of keep continuing the change in the world that we want to see. Not to sound so existential or
It's
high level, but it's true.
right. Well, and rising tides raises all boats. So what that does is it's not saying like we're anti big companies. It just means that the big companies will have to start changing what they make available to the public because the public is saying, this is what I want. This is what I don't want. And then it allows the the movement to shift with it and in that direction. And so, I'll say just so there's clarity, like I 100% am grateful for Western medicine, and I'm grateful that we have access to these resources. And a doctor loves nothing better than to work on a healthy patient. And so that's what's beautiful about reducing our chemical load and being just a healthy person, a healthier person in general, because when that crisis does happen, you're going to recover better. You're going to be able to go through that surgery and have better results because your body is in better shape.
And I don't know about you. Also, I'm not sure. Was you and your family always kind of like a healthier, non-toxic, more natural solutions kind of origins? I mean, I know your sister Jen, herbalist,
Hmm.
right? And she was the one who
Hmm.
really started the whole making all the not tinctures and everything. Sorry, I don't know the proper terminology, but
Salves, balms. Yeah,
oh, yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah.
good.
Those. But starting out like that, like were you guys always kind of a family centered around the more natural solutions? How was that kind of integrated? Like what was the start of that?
It's funny. It's a great question. So, my mom loved plants, and growing up in the military, we moved every 3 months to 3 years, and she never wanted to plant the garden and then have to move very quickly. And so, she loved her alternative was potted plants. So, we just had like a boatload of potted plants, and they would always be in the car with us to go to the next move. And we'd be crying and plants hitting us in the face and like super annoyed. And one day we're leaving, I think I was like 12 or 13, and we're leaving one of the places that lived at. And of course we're hitting the plants out of our face. And I look down and there's this like box of skincare products. And like this box had moved with us the last move and the move before and the move before and the move before. And I'm like, okay, mom, I understand why the movers didn't take the plants. Like the plants wouldn't survive a moving truck. But why is this box of skincare products in with us? And she was like, well, they're flammable. The movers can't take this. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, why would you put anything on your skin that's flammable? And and then we're like, and by the way, you've had this 6 or 7 moves. You're never going to use it. Just throw it away. So I saw like the waste in it. But it was the first time my sister and I made that connection that we were making the exception of putting things on our body that we like full well knew that they were not good for us. And then my sister and I were competitive runners and swimmers. So for us, food was fuel, food was performance, and we were very mindful of what we put in our bodies. And so that was just kind of like the light bulb moment that it wasn't just what we put in our bodies, it's what we put on our bodies. And that started our journey.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm I'm laughing at the visual image of you guys just moving and having plants everywhere and just getting hit in the face with them, like you said. That sounds like quite the experience. But yeah, exactly what you said with the products being casually flammable, and I'm just putting this on my skin regularly. Like I don't know. This is where I say at some parts of me are like, you know what, ignorance really is bliss, and you don't need to go insane trying to learn every single ingredient that's in every single thing you ever use. But that's a pretty hard thing to hear and just kind of put to the side that like, oh, these products are flammable. Like some of these ingredients are actually that toxic and they're just casually going on your body, on your skin. And it's such a beautiful transition to working with kind of herbalism. And to your point before about Western medicine, when I think about kind of natural healing solutions, things like that, I feel like I bring it back to the same point of balance, like we talked about, balance between, you know, doing so much research or not knowing anything at all. I feel like Eastern and Western medicine is very similar in the sense of like Western medicine absolutely has its place. It is essential and it saved lives. Not that Eastern medicine doesn't, but to the same point, there's so much value in these types of medicines that have just been written off as like non-realistic, not proven, not research, not whatever, even though there is research behind them. But you know what I mean? They're just kind of sectioned off as this separate category that isn't nearly as reliable as these big other companies and products. And I think that that's just something that I hope we are seeing more of a meet in the middle, understand the values of both sides, because we could really learn a lot and benefit a lot from herbalism, more ancient practices, so to say, like these kind of nature-based solutions. Like the earth gives us so much to heal naturally. We just don't even know about it or learn about it anymore. So I think that is such a beautiful thing to incorporate into your products.
Thank you. And I so agree. And I'm so grateful for that journey and understanding and then getting to know what the body's reaction is because no one meant to hurt anyone in the industrial revolution when these ingredients, these man-made synthetic chemicals were really starting to be made in volume. They just wanted to, they were like, oh, wow, we have manufacturing now. Oh, wow, people want volume for value. So we're just going to stuff a bunch of stuff in here. And it might take 2 years before it gets to their door. So we better make sure that it's a stable formula. So these are the ingredients that we need to put in there to make it happen. And, today we can manufacture something. We have transportation, we have Amazon, we have technology, we get it to people much quicker. And we don't want all the fillers. We don't need all the fillers. And this whole notion of something's supposed to burn for it to heal, or we're supposed to dry it out in order for it to heal. And just understanding that this ancient wisdom, these herbs, can not only complement our system, but stimulate what our system already knows how to do and create repair and support without having to have all those extra ingredients that are harmful. And so I think that's just part of that movement, part of that shift, and part of that vote of getting all of this stuff out as we continue to get more science and data behind these amazing plants and what they can do.
A natural clearing and a natural shift, but it's what needs to happen. Exactly, though. Like you said, I think about this too, kind of. I'm a very logical person. I think a lot, very, very mind active, but when I really got into the non-toxic products and living, I was like, makes a lot of sense how we got here. I mean, obviously not speaking to kind of big corporations and the money aspect, but just in general, industrial revolution, like you said, you want a lot of volume, you want it for low cost. You just kind of naturally get to a place where these products have been made in similar ways with similar ingredients for so long without any kind of regulations. It's not necessarily a malicious thing, but it's an unfortunate circumstance for the way that it's happened. And I do think it's so beautiful to speak to the value of herbalism and, like we said, the kind of ancient medicines to actually go back to healing us. Because as you said, there's so much in nature, so many resources, so many plant-based solutions exactly that complement our systems that are natural, that come from the earth, that we and like ancestors and humans have used for however many thousands of years maybe. And to just forget that wisdom or write it off or anything like that, I feel like it's just such a just missing out on so much value and wisdom that we can really use to help our lives. So it's huge.
So true. I love that.
What does your kind of current day-to-day life look like? I know you mentioned kind of like the homestead, the family, like dogs, chickens, all the things kind of out in the country and stuff. What does that kind of look like?
All the animals, all the chores. There's lots of them. All the critters running around, and then of course, just we're raising our daughter and building our business and shipping boxes. There are times where I'll have all the family members in the warehouse and we're shipping boxes. We don't grow the herbs for our products anymore, but of course, we still grow herbs and plants and all that jazz. But our plants are coming from all over the world now that we're registered with the FDA. But we'll have fun where we'll sprinkle some calendula, on our dessert or in our teas to just kind of like bring us back to the moment of when we were first doing these and growing them and putting them in our products. So yeah, there's always chores to be done, but I love my day starts with putting my feet on the ground and watching that horizon, watching that sun come up, and then you just kind of start working through the day, whether it's business, whether it's family, or whether it's the farm and just taking care of everything. And I work really hard to try to watch that horizon at the end of the day and give myself a few minutes. And if it means sitting in the garden and being present with the birds and the plants, or Yeah, or taking the drive to go pick up the kiddo from volleyball practice.
I am telling you, I know I've said it a million times, but like you are living my dream life. Like that just seems like such, I don't know, such a beautiful, rich, just like calm, peaceful, but also like, I don't know. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with it.
Mhm.
So
This was super fun, and I just so appreciate your passion and your commitment to this we'll call it the plant-based wellness shift. So thank you for just spreading goodness and putting all that out there.
thank you so much, Jody, for coming on
Thank
and
you.
just spending time on the podcast. I'm so happy to have you and so happy to be able to support the brand.
Thank you. It was lovely to spend time with you.
All right, my friends, I hope you guys really loved this episode. If you want to check out Green Goo, their website as well as their social media is all linked in the description below. Go be your most organic selves, and I will see you in the next one.